think we're going to get started. I do have some handouts at the front here, so if you guys want to come and grab them after it's done, if you want to sneak up right now, that's okay too. So I've got some handouts for you. It'll cover some of the topics that we're discussing today. But yeah, thank you for coming. Today's our final presentation of the series that we've been doing. So far, we've discussed bone health, heart health, anti-inflammatory eating, and then today we're going to round out the series by discussing gut health. So I hope it's a bit of a heavy presentation, so if you have any questions, I do invite you to participate while we're going, and I'll try to save some time for questions at the end too, okay? All right, so, oh, and I do encourage you to take notes as we go, okay? All right, so introducing your host. I know I've met a lot of you before, but if you don't know me, my name is Cheryl. I'm the dietitian at the Zare stores in Kingsville and on Malden Road. My areas of growing expertise or knowledge, I guess, would be in chronic disease prevention and management, sport nutrition, and that's because I did my bachelor's in kinesiology, which is a sport science-based program, and then weight management as well. I do like to take a non-diet approach when working with clients, so rather on focusing things that you would remove from your diet, I like to try to focus on what you can add into your diet and find some balance there, creating some healthy habits and making those lifestyle changes that are actually going to last for you. I do think it's really important to keep in mind that we need to enjoy our food. It's something that we have every single day, and it would be no fun if you didn't enjoy anything that you were eating. So it is important to keep that in mind, okay? All right, so another little tidbit about our services, just as a reminder, we do offer personalized nutrition consultations, so that's our one-on-one services, kind of the bread and butter of what we do. That's more of our day-to-day stuff. Nutrition workshops like this one, so we'll come and do presentations on various topics. We're offering corporate lunch and learn presentations, and we actually have some new offerings for corporate wellness. One of them being a 6-part nutrition workshop series. So we've picked kind of our top 6 most popular topics, and we're kind of offering that as a package deal now. So if you know someone who might be interested, or a virtual 60-minute shop with the dietitian with a 90-minute follow-along cooking class. That's a new offering for us as well. Again, these are more tailored to like that corporate setting, and they're virtual, so it's a little bit easier for people to participate in. But yeah, we've got some really great cooking, like little cooking recipes that we're coming up with and that kind of thing, so I'm excited to be doing that. And then we've got some webinars coming up, as always. So they can be found on our Dietitian Webinars website, dietitianwebinars.ca. And the one that we have coming up on May 24th, so pretty soon, it's a 3-week series on gut health, actually. So if you're interested in today's topic, or if you have other gut health concerns that we haven't covered, this might be a good one for you. A couple of my colleagues are running it. They do a really fantastic job. It's very focused on IBS and the low FODMAP diet, if you've ever heard of those before. Yeah, really, really interesting series. If you would like more information on it, please feel free to reach out to me or we can chat after. All right. So taking a look at today's agenda, so we're going to focus on the gut microbiome. We're going to take a look at prebiotics, and then we're going to take a look at probiotics. We're going to look at fiber, and then discuss how to choose a whole grain. Okay. So starting off with the gut, we're going to be exploring foods for a healthy gut today. So we have what is called a microbiome. Is anyone familiar with that term or know what that is? Yeah? You've heard it before? Okay. So if for those of you who don't know what a microbiome is, the National Institute of Environmental Health and Sciences describes it as a collection of all the microbes, including bacteria, fungi, and viruses, that naturally live inside and on the body. So the majority of these bacteria actually live inside the colon. You actually have about 100 trillion, which is a huge number. So it's always, whenever I think about that, I'm always like, wow, that is huge. And that is referred to as your gut microbiome, so that one that's primarily in the colon. So we know that different foods can have an impact on the health of these gut bacteria. So actually, our gut starts to colonize during pregnancy. So while we're still in the womb, and I know that it was initially thought that the womb is a sterile place, but our mother's gut microbiome actually starts to impact ours, and it begins to colonize while we are still in the womb. And like I said, influenced by our mother's microbiome. And our microbiome develops between those first 1 to 3 years of our life, and it's usually about fully developed by age 3. And that microbiome that we develop by age 3 is going to be very similar to the one that we have in adulthood. It's kind of the foundation for that. But there's lots of factors in our life that do influence it. So things like the environment and our diet, those are influences on our gut microbiome. And that's actually why families tend to have similar microbiomes. Antibiotic use can affect it, stress and illness as well. And our gut microbiome influences our health as well. So it assists in digestion, nutrient absorption, and modulating an immune response. It also impacts the risk of developing some illnesses and autoimmune diseases. So this thing that we don't really ever think about, you can't see it, don't really know what it is or what's going on there, but it has a huge impact on our life, and it actually starts right from the womb. So I always thought that was so interesting. So healthy gut bacteria may help support your immune system, brain function, metabolic health, and heart health. So we're going to explore some different foods that promote gut health, such as prebiotics, probiotics, and fiber. Okay, so any questions on any of that information before we move on to prebiotics? No? Okay, all right. Okay, so prebiotics. So has anyone heard of prebiotics before? I know probiotics is oh yeah, you have? Do you know what they are? Yes?
Mixed up. I know, I'm not sure if the yogurt ones, so probiotics.
So probiotics are usually found in yogurt, which is great that you pointed that out, because we're going to talk about that later too. Prebiotics are a type of non-digestible carb that act as food for probiotics. So they help the probiotics grow and multiply and remain in your colon. So you kind of got to think about it, because probiotics are in there, that's the bacteria that's living, and then the prebiotics go and feed those bacteria. Okay, so some food that do contain prebiotics include produce, grains, and sometimes they're actually added into different products as well. So you can find them in bananas, asparagus, tomatoes, garlic, onion, leeks, and Jerusalem artichokes. Those are very common. You can also find them in rye, barley, and whole grains. And we're going to talk about those whole grains in a little bit. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So if it's non-digestible, is it also not considered fiber?
No, it is, some fiber is slowly digested, and then some fibers are not digested. But we actually are going to talk about that a little bit later too. But yeah, some prebiotics are fiber, not all of them. Okay, and it's added into products like breads, granola bars, cereal, sports drinks, and yogurt. And it's usually added in the form of chicory root inulin. So if you ever see that on an ingredient list, which you might, that is a prebiotic. So a little bit of more information on them. Not all fiber is a prebiotic, like I mentioned. Currently, there is no recommended amount of prebiotics needed to see a benefit. However, consuming prebiotics on a regular basis will provide a constant flow of food for the prebiotics in your digestive system. So if you stop taking them, those probiotics are going to eat up all their food, just like we do, and then they'll still be left wanting more, essentially. Some common types of prebiotics include fructooligosaccharides, or fructans, and galactooligosaccharides as well. And these are two types of non-digestible carbs. Inulin is one of the most commonly used prebiotics and is naturally found in a variety of produce items, such as the ones I have listed there, the bananas, asparagus, garlic, onion, leeks, artichokes, and tomatoes. And if you start consuming more of these foods that contain prebiotics, you want to keep in mind that you might end up actually increasing your fiber intake as well, which is great. A lot of us don't get enough fiber, but with that, you just want to be aware of your digestive system, because sometimes when you increase fiber quickly, it can cause a little bit of stomach upset. So you want to make sure you're also increasing that fluid intake at the same time. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because I don't want anyone to go and get a bunch of prebiotics and then wind up with some stomach upset. All right, so this is an example of a packaged product that contains prebiotics in the form of inulin, like I said. So these are made good granola bars. We actually sell them at the store. And I've highlighted, yeah, you can see it, the inulin there. So when you see that on an ingredient list, you know that that's a prebiotic. And then this one as well, same thing. It actually says prebiotic right on the label. And this one also has inulin, but you can see it's also listed as chicory root as well. Okay? So any questions about prebiotics? Yes?
What is actually inulin? What is that?
It's chicory root, essentially.
It's chicory root.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we've talked about prebiotics. Those are the food for our probiotics. So now let's talk about probiotics. So again, probiotics is a little bit more common. People talk about those a little bit more. Those are healthy bacteria that naturally live in the colon of our digestive system and may provide specific health benefits. So that's important to keep in mind, that they do provide specific health benefits. Once in the colon, the bacteria multiply and help to keep a balance between good and bad bacteria that live there. So foods that offer it didn't change a little bit, that's all right. So foods that offer probiotics or healthy gut bacteria include yogurt, like you mentioned, kefir, miso, tempeh, and sauerkraut, or kimchi and kombucha. So we might be familiar with some of those. Have you guys had any of those before? Yeah, a few of them? Okay. Hang on one second. I've lost my mouse here, and I can't scroll through. Hang on one second. Sorry, I've lost my mouse. I'm having a technical difficulty. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, so some of the benefits of probiotics include lessening diarrhea that comes from taking antibiotics. So that is something that you want to be aware of if you are on an antibiotic long term. Improve symptoms of ulcerative colitis, which is a type of inflammatory bowel disease. And it can also improve symptoms of IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. Some research shows that probiotics may help with lactose intolerance, but more research is needed in that area. You do want to keep in mind that the positive effects of probiotics does depend on the type and quantity eaten, and it will vary from person to person. So this is because all of our microbiomes, like what we said before, they're all different. They're all unique to us. If we've got, 100 trillion bacteria, yours are going to be different from mine. There's way too many to have them all the same, right? And we all have lived different life experiences, been around other people, changed up our diets. Everyone's is going to be different. So naturally, we're going to have a little bit of a different response, or could have a little bit of a different response to the different probiotics that we have. It inhibits the colonization of those bad bacteria, stimulating immune function. It helps with the synthesis of essential vitamins. Probiotics also harvest energy from the diet and produce beneficial short-chain fatty acids. And although there is some clinical evidence for the role of probiotics in lowering cholesterol, the results are conflicting. So could be a possibility in the future. We just aren't 100% sure yet. And then I do want to get into a little bit what can be labeled as a probiotic. So according to Health Canada, and this is what I kind of highlighted before, according to Health Canada, probiotics have been defined as live microorganisms that when ingested in appropriate quantities have a beneficial effect in the prevention and treatment of specific medical conditions by improving the host's intestinal microbial balance. Promising probiotic strains include members of the genera Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Enterococcus. So just as a heads up, probiotics have really long names. So when you are reading them, it's a bit much, the names. So just keep that in mind, and I will do my best to pronounce them all properly, but no promises. Okay, so something else to keep in mind is that foods that are fermented with other types of microbes don't necessarily contain probiotics. That doesn't mean that these foods aren't good for you. They still contribute to the population and diversity in your gut flora, and diversity is really important. The fermentation process allows the nutrients in the foods to be more easily absorbed since they're already pre-digested by beneficial bacteria. So the cell walls of vegetables get broken down. For instance, the vitamin C in cabbage becomes more bioavailable when it's fermented. So some natural compounds that interfere with the absorption of nutrients can be removed by fermentation as well. So phytic acid, for example, which is found in legumes and seeds, this binds minerals like iron and zinc, reducing their absorption when eaten. So when it's bound to that phytic acid, it's hard for our bodies to get the iron and the zinc. So during fermentation, phytic acid can be broken down, so the minerals are easier for our bodies to get, essentially. And then additionally, colonic bacteria manufactures vitamins like B6, B12, and K2. So a lot is going on, but fermented foods have a lot of benefits for us. All right, so here I've included a table of probiotics that are researched in humans and this kind of gives you an idea of how to choose probiotics. So we've got the condition on the left side there, and then the strain and a product that you can find it in. So that first one, the condition is constipation. The strain there is one that has been shown that it can help with constipation. And a suggested product for you would be Activia yogurt. So probiotic supplements may be required, so supplements may be required for certain conditions, and you want to make sure you are choosing the right probiotic for that condition. So referencing a chart like this, or there's a website that you can go to called probioticchart.ca. That will help you determine which probiotic strain might be right for you, depending on the health condition. So when choosing a probiotic product, you want to determine the type of probiotic that is needed to treat your health condition and the length of time that you should be taking it. You want to start by ensuring you are getting the right probiotic strain for your health condition. The strain of the bacteria or yeast is the most important, as this determines if the product is going to work for whatever condition you are looking for. So for instance, if you're looking at, remember I said those names are very long, if you're looking at Bifidobacterium longum R0157, the R0157 is the strain. So that's the part that you want to look at, because that is what is going to identify if it works for the condition that you're looking for. Okay, so any questions about that? I know it's a lot. Yes?
Would dill pickles be considered part of probiotics?
I don't believe dill pickles are probiotics. I think they're just fermented. Yeah. Yeah, so they would have other benefits for you as well, but there's not a specific condition that I'm aware of, not a specific condition that they help with. Yes?
How do you know which type of strain you should be taking for your condition?
So that's where you want to reference charts like this or the probioticchart.ca. Those are going to help you find which strain is going to work best for the condition that you're looking for. Yeah, there are different strains, and there's lots of different products on the market. That's why they have those suggested products there, just so that it's a little bit easier to find that specific one that you're looking for. Okay, so you want to aim to take at least 100 million CFUs per day to benefit from probiotics, and again, that seems like an unbelievable amount. But they usually come in very high amounts like that, so it is not crazy to try and get that. And you have to check the label for the suggested dose. CFU refers to colony forming units, and that's just an indication of the number of viable cells. So without regular intake, probiotics do not survive in the colon for more than 1 or 2 weeks, so you can't take it and think that's going to last you forever. You do have to continue to take them. And then something else to consider is that you want to ensure that you're storing them properly. So they're a little bit finicky, probiotics. They're very often need to be refrigerated. They're sensitive to temperature, air, light, and moisture. Which makes sense, right? Because they're a bacteria, and bacteria is affected by all those things. So keeping them in the refrigerator is usually recommended, but you can always check the label for proper storage. And then some special consideration would be for infants, pregnant women, or those with a weakened immune system or major illness. They should speak with their healthcare provider before taking probiotics. Also, if you are allergic to milk or soy, you just want to be cautious because some strains of probiotics are grown using milk or soy protein. So definitely if you have those allergies, you want to check the label or call the company. Okay, so any questions about any of that?
If you're taking, is there a recommended time of day, or do they have to be taken on an empty stomach?
It would kind of depend on like what you're taking. Each individual probiotic would be a little bit different. A lot of times they are in foods anyways, so you would just, like if you had an Activia yogurt or something. But an individual supplement, I would double check the label because they're all probably a little bit different. I don't think that most of them have to be taken with food though. But yeah, they would all be a little bit different. You want to check the label. Okay. Yes.
Is there any, like yogurt? I mean, is there a yogurt, one yogurt better than another?
It really just depends on, the strain that you are looking for. We're actually going to be talking about yogurt right here. So that was a fantastic segue. So I guess a good question to start off with is, do all yogurts provide probiotics? No? That is correct. So not all yogurt offers probiotics specifically. They all offer healthy bacteria, but not all of that bacteria is going to be considered a probiotic. So that's something to keep in mind. It's that definition of probiotics, right? That it has to help with a specific condition. So all yogurts offer healthy bacteria. Not all of them are offering probiotics. This is one example of a probiotic yogurt. You want to be mindful of the sugar in probiotic yogurts. Same thing with kefir, which we're going to be talking about next. You just want to be a little bit mindful of the added sugars. You want to choose those plain options more often, and then use either fresh or frozen fruit, applesauce, or even a little bit of honey to sweeten it, because then you're in control of the sweetness of it. A lot of times there is a lot of added sugar added to these for flavor. But if you're in control, it makes it a little bit better. And then if you add in those fruits too, then you're getting, the benefits and fibers from the fruits. And then some other probiotic plain yogurt brands. So we've got this one, the Astro Bio Best. There's one called Olympic. Activia Pure Unsweetened is also a good one. Although with Activia, they do offer sweetened versions as well. So you just want to check the label first. Yeah, so those are some good probiotic yogurts. And then here we've got kefir. Has anyone tried kefir before? Yeah, did you like it?
Not really, my mother drinks that.
Okay, I'm not a big fan of it either. I've tried plain kefir. I haven't had a sweetened one. I'm assuming the sweetened one probably tastes a little bit better, but actually my mother also likes kefir, so it's a matter of taste. I personally find it to be a little bit bitter. So if you haven't had kefir before, it is actually fermented milk. It's similar tasting to like a drinkable yogurt or a buttermilk. And fermented dairy products like yogurt, buttermilk, kefir, actually breast milk as well. Those also contain the prebiotic galacto-oligosaccharide. So these are available in dairy and non-dairy. So the yellow one there, that's actually a coconut kefir. So if you are someone who can't tolerate dairy, that would be a better option for you. And then some uses, you can add them to smoothies, put them in your cereal. You can use them in salad dressings. If you make overnight oats, you can put them in that. Chia pudding, or you can enjoy it on its own if you are someone who really likes the taste. That's my feelings too. I personally would put it in a smoothie. And I wouldn't drink like a big cup of it either. I would probably start off with a little bit of a smaller amount. If you are looking for kefir in the store, you can find it in the yogurt section of the grocery store, and organic kefir options can be found in the natural value section. Yes?
Do they carry that coconut milk one at Sayers here?
I believe so, yeah. I believe we do. Oh yeah, it's a PC product, yep.
Is it plain?
That one is, I believe it is plain, yeah. Yeah, yeah, that one is plain. It might have a little bit of a different flavor just because it is made with coconut, but I don't believe it's sweetened. Okay. All right, and then looking at some more products here. We've got kombucha, which if you haven't tried kombucha, I was a little bit skeptical at first, but I'm actually a big fan. I like it a lot. It is fermented tea. It's got a little bit of a tart taste. You can find this in the fridge in the natural value section of your grocery store. I have seen it at some stores kind of in different sections as well, but you should be able to find it in the fridge of the natural value section. I like to drink kombucha on its own. To me, I used to really like pop when I was younger, and now I find pop too sweet. I find kombucha to be a nice, almost feels like I'm drinking pop, but it doesn't have that like overly sweet flavor if you find pop to be that way.
What's the sugar like in that?
So it actually depends from brand to brand. The one that I like is called Remedy, and it uses a sugar substitute instead. It does have sugar alcohol in it, so if you are someone who is bothered by sugar alcohols, just keep that in mind. But the sugar in that is low because it uses a sugar substitute.
Is that zero?
Yep, it's called Remedy. Yeah. But some of them, it's actually a very good question because some of them do have higher amounts of sugar in them, just depending on the brand. So again, you got to be careful and check those nutrition labels. Even read the ingredients. I know I think it was the last session that we had, we kind of talked about, checking for those sugars and finding them in the ingredient list. So that's definitely a good time to use that.
Do you know what it uses? You said it uses a sugar substitute. Do you know which one?
The one that I use uses, I think it's erythritol. It's a sugar alcohol. But again, they would all be a little bit different. I think it's definitely a sugar alcohol. I'm pretty sure it's erythritol. Okay, and then the next product there is tempeh. Has anyone ever tried tempeh before? So this is actually a plant-based protein. It's made of fermented soybeans. You can enjoy it as a meat substitute in burgers or sandwiches. You can put it on salads and stir fries. I know a lot of vegan or vegetarians like to use it as a bacon substitute. My sister's a vegetarian and she loves to have like bacon tempeh. I've tried it. I like it. I think it's pretty good. You can find this product with the other packaged plant-based protein alternatives. So those are near the deli section usually of the grocery store. And then miso. So this is fermented soybeans that are made into a paste. You may have heard of like miso soup. That's pretty common. So if you are going to make or add it to soup, you want to boil your water and then let your water cool a little bit. If you add the miso in while it's boiling, it's going to be a little bit too hot and it'll actually kill off the healthy bacteria that we're hoping to get out of it. So you definitely want to let it cool a little before adding it. You can also add it to sauces, marinades, and salad dressings. And you can find this product in the fridge in the natural value section. You may see it in white, yellow, and red products. So the darker the color, usually the stronger the flavor. So if you see it in those different colors, you'll know that the darker one is going to be a strong flavor versus the lighter.
Is that a miso veggie dip?
This one is, I think it's just like miso paste. Yeah, it's just the paste. Yeah. And then you can add that into different things. Okay. All right, and I've got a few more products here for you guys. So sauerkraut. Have you guys all tried sauerkraut before? Yeah. So if you guys have been to Frankenmuth, I actually went to Frankenmuth and had sauerkraut, or like actually really gave it a shot for the first time while I was in Frankenmuth, and I loved it. So that is one of those things that I like to have often. I use it as a condiment. You can put it in your sandwiches. Some people top their salads with it or like mix it into some coleslaw. You can put it on top of some grilled meat or like sausages like they do at Frankenmuth. And you can find it in the natural value section as well. And then kimchi, which I believe also has fermented cabbage in it. It's got some other fermented vegetables as well. This one's also found in the natural value section. It does have a little bit of a different taste than sauerkraut. And sometimes you can get it and it's a little bit spicy. So I would start off by just trying a little bit at a time, just in case you do have a spicy one. So these both have live bacterial culture. Again, you want to make sure that you're not heating them up because you don't want to kill those healthy gut bacteria. So if you are going to add kimchi to, say, a stir fry, you want to add it in at the end. So kind of when you're just about done cooking, probably got the heat off and it's still in the pan, just throw yourself a spoon in and then mix it in. And then again, sauerkraut, I usually don't heat up sauerkraut, but just be aware. You can add it to salads or coleslaws. So any questions about any of those products? Yes?
I've been sort of doing the FODMAP diet, and I found I can't have raw cabbage coleslaw really badly. And I like sauerkraut, and we're having pork beef sandwiches on the weekend. But I'm wondering, I always cook it. Do you think a cooked cabbage would be different than the raw?
Yes. So when you cook a plant like that, it can sometimes change like the way our body responds to it and the way we digest it. So cooked is usually easier to digest. If raw cabbage is something that you can't have, you might be able to do the cooked, but I would do a very small amount to try. Have you tried sauerkraut?
Not since I've started.
Okay, that again, it would be a little bit different to digest because the digestion has already started a little bit in that fermentation process. So it's likely going to be a little bit easier for you, but again, I would start with a very, very small amount. Just depending on your sensitivity, it could still cause some stomach upset. The low FODMAP, it honestly is different for everyone. So it's a lot of trying again, which can be a little bit tedious, but definitely those small amounts are where to start.
The same way with apples, I can't eat raw apples, but do you think so applesauce might be okay, or cooked apples might be?
Yeah, you might be able to. Yeah, you might be able to. Again, it would have to be, take like one slice and cook that, or I guess you would cook an apple, but only take like one small slice from it and just see how you respond to that. I definitely wouldn't start with like a whole apple. Yeah, everyone has a little bit different of sensitivity, so it could go one way or the other, but usually cooking the product and like the fermented products are a little bit easier for us to digest. All right, so the next topic we're going to discuss is fiber. So if you have been to one of my presentations before, we have talked lots about fiber, so you might find some of this to be a bit of a refresher for you, but fiber is so important. That's why we talk about it so much. So some food sources of fiber. Does anyone want to take a guess or give me some ideas of what might be food sources of fiber? Lettuce? It probably has some, yeah. It probably does have some, yeah. I don't think it would be a heck of a lot. Probably your darker leafy greens would have a little bit more than your regular. I shouldn't say that because I don't know 100%, but I would think so. Yeah. So fruits and vegetables actually have lots of lettuce. Fruits and vegetables actually have lots of fiber in them, especially if you've got some with skins on them. You want to leave those skins on because they usually do have fiber in there. We've got whole grains, which we've talked about a lot, some legumes, nuts, and seeds. Those are all really great sources of fiber. So what are the health benefits of fiber? Do you guys have any ideas? What could be some health benefits of fiber related to your gut or not related to your gut?
Helps with your digestion.
Yes, exactly, both of you. So fiber helps with your digestive health. Meeting your daily fiber needs may decrease your risk of colorectal cancer. It helps to keep you feeling full for longer. So usually when we recommend having a snack, we'll recommend doing half protein and half fiber because they're both slowly digested, or fiber will add bulk. And that will keep you feeling full for longer because of that slow digestion. It can help to manage cholesterol levels, control blood sugar levels because it doesn't cause that spike in blood sugar. Because of the slow digestion, your sugar does this rather than that. And then we know that certain types of fiber, such as prebiotics, can help fuel your gut bacteria too. So lots of health benefits for fiber. And I did mention this before, and it's kind of interesting because fiber, you only need, for men age 19 to 50, 38 grams, and for women age 19 to 50, 25 grams a day. So it's not a heck of a lot of fiber that you need, but most of us only get about half of the fiber that we need in a day. So it's definitely something to, keep in mind. It's got so many health benefits for us, and we are slacking on the fiber. So definitely something to pay attention to. And as I did say before, you do want to increase your fiber intake slowly and drink more fluids as your fiber intake increases to prevent the risk of constipation, diarrhea, bloating, or gas. So I mentioned before that it does cause some stomach upset. Just make sure you're drinking some water and go slow with it. Okay, so we're going to talk about fiber in a bit more detail, and for some of you, like I said, this is probably going to be a bit of a refresher, but there are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Soluble fiber helps lower blood cholesterol, control blood sugars, manage diarrhea, and fuels healthy gut bacteria, again, those prebiotics. This is found in avocados, oranges, sweet potatoes, apples, pears, bananas, Brussels sprouts, as well as oats, barley, beans, lentils, psyllium, and chia seeds. So lots of vegetables, lots of whole grains. You're going to find the soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber helps promote regularity and a healthy digestive system. It is found in whole grains and some fruits and vegetables. Again, you want to keep the skins on when possible, so things like berries, grapes, apples. And when you look on the nutrition label, it is very rare to have those two different fibers broken down. So usually it'll say carbohydrates and then fiber and then sugar. It is very rare to see fiber insoluble and soluble. So it is good to know some of those different sources. But a lot of foods do have both. So, it's not always, you don't have to be super nitpicky about it. I would say increasing that intake of fiber is usually the primary goal. And normally that'll kind of balance out if you're getting it from a variety of different things. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at whole grains and kind of what they look like. So this is a whole grain if you were to kind of slice it down the middle or kind of off to the side a little. Again, I think some of you have probably seen this image before. I probably mentioned that it reminds me of an egg because every time I see it, I think of an egg. But that's how I remember that there's 3 different components and what they are and what they do. So all whole grains have 3 parts. The bran is the outer skin of the grain. It contains a lot of fiber, B vitamins, and other antioxidants. So that brown layer there, it's got all kinds of good stuff for us, including fiber and vitamins and antioxidants. And the endosperm, so the like lighter shade of yellow, that is the like kind of starchy middle part. It does have some protein and small amounts of vitamins and minerals, but it does contain a lot of like carbs and starch. And then the germ, which looks like a yolk to me, right? So that's the germ or the embryo. That contains many B vitamins, some protein, and minerals and healthy fats. So those two outer the outer layer and the middle center contain lots of really great things for us. And when we refine them, so if we were to refine the grain, usually they would remove the bran and the germ, leaving only that starchy endosperm portion, so that middle part. Which is too bad because, you know, all grains start out their life as whole grains, and then it's kind of the processing that we do that removes those things. So for example, white rice is a refined grain because the germ and the bran have been removed, while brown rice contains all three parts. So you might notice a difference next time you have rice. If you try white rice and then you try brown rice, try to pay attention and see if the brown rice fills you up a little bit more than the white rice. Yes?
What about wild rice?
Wild rice, wild rice I believe is also a whole grain. That long grain wild rice, yeah. So whole grains provide more protein, fiber, and vitamins and minerals, and we're actually going to take a look at how you can tell if one thing is a whole grain versus a refined grain. All right, so here we've got two different products. We've got a 14 grain country harvest bread versus the Dietician white bread. Both are great options, but if you are looking for something that is whole grain, the first thing that you want to do is take a look at the ingredient list and look for whole grain to be the first ingredient. So you can see on the country harvest one, we've got whole grain, whole wheat flour, including the germ. So that is very specific. You see it's made of whole grains and whole wheat flour, and it does have the germ, which is fantastic. That means it's likely going to have a little bit more fiber and protein in it. Versus the Dietician has enriched wheat flour. It doesn't say whole grain on there, so you know it's not made of whole grains. The ingredient list is really where you kind of learn all the truth about the product. So the next thing that you want to do, and I meant to mention to be aware of something that says enriched wheat flour and rye or pumpernickel breads that are mixed with enriched wheat flour. Just because it's enriched doesn't mean that it contains the same nutrients as the whole grain. So the next thing you want to look at is a comparison of the amount of fiber per serving. So for here, we've got one slice of the country harvest has 3 grams of fiber, and one slice of the Dietician only has 1 gram of fiber, which doesn't seem like a big difference. You're probably thinking, oh, it's only 2 grams. But when you only need about 25, that's a big percentage. 3 grams, that's significant, whereas 1 gram is not. So relatively speaking, it is important to go for the ones that are a little bit higher. And then I have a question for you guys. Is multigrain the same thing as whole grain? No. Good job. Who said that? Oh, okay. No, that is correct. So not necessarily. You want to be aware of marketing. All multigrain means is that there is more than 1 grain. It's not telling us if it's refined or not. It's just telling us that there's more than 1. So again, you always want to check that ingredient list because that is where you learn all the truth about the products. And you can also buy whole grain wraps, pita pockets, English muffins, and bagels too. There's lots more products than just regular bread. And here we've got some crackers. So again, take a look at the ingredient list. Look for whole grain to be the first ingredient. Here we see just rice. It doesn't tell us if it's a whole grain rice or what kind of rice. On the other side, we're seeing whole grain rye flour. So whole grain rye flour might be an indicator it's going to have a little bit more in it for us. And then you want to compare the amount of fiber per serving. So the only thing that I don't love about this is that it doesn't tell you how many crackers is in a serving on this slide. So that's something you want to be aware of, is how big is a serving? Is it 2 crackers or is it like 16? Because most people don't eat 2 crackers, right? So, well, and that's what the labels are for, right? And you always want to watch that serving size. So the new food labels, which have slowly been rolled out, they're not even fully rolled out yet, I don't believe. But the new food labels are supposed to have more realistic serving sizes on them. So, you know, when it says like 2 crackers, that nobody eats 2 crackers, it should be more like at least 8. But you'll start to see it'll become a little bit more realistic. But looking at these serving sizes, we have 0 grams of fiber per serving on the rice crackers and 5 grams of fiber per serving on the Thin Crisps. So that's a significant difference right there. Again, there's lots of different kinds of whole grains that you can include in your diet. That also includes brown rice, wild rice, quinoa, frike, barley, steel-cut oats, and whole grain couscous. There's lots of different kinds of them. Okay, and then we've come to the end of our presentation. So just to summarize, we've talked about the gut microbiome, we've talked about prebiotics, probiotics, and fermented foods, fiber, and how to choose a whole grain. Do we have any questions or anything like that about any of these topics? I know this one is very heavy. It's a lot of information, especially at the beginning. The gut microbiome, the probiotics, they've all got a lot going on, so it is a lot of information. If any questions do come up, please feel free to let me know. And then this is just another reminder of the services that we offer. And again, that Gut Instincts webinar that I mentioned before, that one is about IBS and the low FODMAP diet. So that might be a good option if you're interested.
Do you have to register for it?
Yes, yeah, there's registration. I can give you a little bit of information about it if you'd like. Okay, so thank you guys for coming. I'm a little bit sad that this is my last one of this series. I hope Kim has me back. That's how I feel. But I had a really great time chatting with you guys about once a month, or it's always great to see new faces too. It's always lovely. The handouts are there. If you didn't get one, please grab one. And let me know if you have any questions, or if you do want to contact me. My contact information is there and on the handouts as well, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.